So every time I think that the West is waking up from its woke insanity, I see something like this. Ontario Catholic School Board sends me and white supremacy to all new principals and vice principals for professional development. And this is the problem that we face, is that even though people are increasingly waking up to how incoherent and divisive and just outright insane modern far left woke ideology is, the inmates are still running the asylum. They have weaseled their way into positions of power in every single institution, and it's still going to take a while before they can be removed and replaced with, well, sane people. And so even though I believe most people just don't like this stuff, they're still going to push it, and they're not going to stop until they don't have the power to push it anymore. And here's the book they're forcing on the staff. It says, Combat Racism, Change the World, and Become a Good Ancestor. And the fact that this ideology just demonstrably does the exact opposite of that, well, it doesn't matter. So let's see, this book is reportedly mandatory reading if a person wants to work at the YCDSB. The Office of the Human Rights and Equity Advisor is committed to continuing the professional development journey of administrators through the work of Layla F. Saad, author of Me and White Supremacy. And this stuff is always couched with words like journey, right? Like it's this personal journey. You have to go through this metamorphosis where you transform from the ugly white privilege thing that you are now into this beautiful social justice butterfly. And by beautiful, I mean beautiful at any size. And it's easy too. All you have to do is blame white people for everything. And don't ask me how, but somehow that fights racism. Let's see, apparently a resource is available to ensure everybody understands the book correctly. That means there's one way to understand the book, and there's one conclusion that you can come to. Let's take a look at the intro to this book. It says, recap, reflect, respond. It says, what is white privilege? We explore what it is using personal stories, history, pop culture, and the media. Wow, that sounds really rigorous. Sure, she's got an airtight case. I mean, let's see. Personal anecdotes. Eminem hates himself for being white, and a journalist said that drinking milk is racist. What more do you need? How does white privilege show up? We examine examples of what it looks like in practice. Yeah, in practice, because this is the thing that people do. They walk around practicing their white privilege. What does it look like when it doesn't show up? Is that like when the entire media attacks you for voting for the wrong person? Or maybe it's when you don't get that promotion because you don't check off the right diversity boxes. But no, seriously, I mean, it is important to explain how imaginary things are real. Otherwise, you wouldn't know they exist. Why do we need to look at white privilege? Well, that's how you make money, and it's also good for the communist revolution. I'm not being facetious there. So let's see, recap, reflect, respond. Okay, so what is white privilege? It's an imaginary concept. How does white privilege show up? When people like you need a book deal. Why do we need to look at white privilege? Because there's no better way to get rich than to criticize white privilege in a white supremacist society, obviously. Let's see, on Amazon here, it's described as an eye-opening book that challenges you to do the essential work of unpacking your biases. Only white people, though, just white people. If you're non-white and you start unpacking your biases, I think that would be white supremacy. Of course it would. But in any case, let's continue, and helps white people take action and dismantle the privilege within themselves so that they can stop, often unconsciously, inflicting damage on people of color, and in turn, help other white people to do better too. But what if this is all bullshit? What if this is just people making assertions that aren't backed up by anything? They say the essential work, according to them, unpacking your biases that we definitely have, and uniquely have, actually. Nobody else in the world has them, apparently. Let's see, dismantle the privilege within themselves. It's hidden inside, deep inside. I've heard that if you measure people at the time that they die, they suddenly weigh a gram less. That's the white privilege, leaving their bodies. Let's see, and of course it's often unconsciously too. So you don't know. You wouldn't know unless they told you. I mean, there's all kinds of unconscious damage that you can do, like showing up for work on time, for instance. Here from edweek.org, Recently, a school leader told me he doesn't feel comfortable asking people to come on time to meetings, as that perpetuates white supremacy. I think this is just an excuse for the fact that he's not comfortable setting expectations and holding people accountable to meeting them. What do you think? He says, I agree with you. I'm deeply concerned that an admirable push for equity is at risk of morphing into a nihilistic doctrine that excuses mediocrity. This would be destructive as hell, especially for kids at risk. Maybe the push for equity over equality was always a nihilistic doctrine that excuses mediocrity. And maybe it's always been destructive as hell, especially for kids at risk. And I think this kind of boils it down perfectly, doesn't it? If you want the essence of this insane ideology, it's being on time is racist. And if you just started from that place, everything else that we see today would just follow naturally. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.